Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing your economics exam preparation series. This is topic 6. We are discussing market structures. This topic appears in your exams every single year. In this lesson, you will learn the 4 main market structures: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, monopoly, their characteristics, and how to answer exam questions. Let us begin. First, what is a market structure? A market structure is the organizational and other characteristics of a market. It includes the number of firms in the market, the type of products they sell, how easy or difficult it is for new firms to enter the market, and the level of competition. Market structures range from very competitive to no competition at all. There are 4 main market structures: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. Each has different characteristics, and each leads to different outcomes for price, output, and efficiency. Let me start with perfect competition. Perfect competition is a market structure with many buyers and many sellers. For example, wheat, rice, and corn are homogeneous products. One farmer's wheat is the same as another farmer's wheat. Because the products are identical, buyers do not care which seller they buy from. They only care about the price. This means that individual sellers cannot charge a price higher than the market price. If they try, buyers will simply go to another seller. So sellers are price takers. They must accept the market price. In perfect competition, the demand curve for an individual firm is horizontal or perfectly elastic. If the firm tries to raise its price even a little, it will sell nothing. If it lowers its price, it will sell more. But it does not need to, because it can sell all it wants at the market price. The market demand curve, however, slopes downward. The market demand curve shows that at lower prices, total quantity demanded in the market is higher. In the short run, a perfectly competitive firm can make supernormal profits, normal profits, or losses. Supernormal profit means profit above normal. Normal profit is the minimum profit needed to keep the firm in business. It is included in the firm's costs. If the firm makes supernormal profits, new firms will enter the market. They see the profits and want some for themselves. As new firms enter, market supply increases. Price falls. Profits fall. This continues until supernormal profits are eliminated. If firms are making losses, some firms will leave the market. As firms exit, market supply decreases. Price rises. Losses decrease. This continues until losses are eliminated. In the long run, perfectly competitive firms earn only normal profit. They make zero supernormal profit. Perfect competition leads to productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. Productive efficiency means producing at the lowest possible cost. In the long run, perfectly competitive firms produce at the minimum point of their average cost curve. Allocative efficiency means producing the goods that consumers want most. In perfect competition, price equals marginal cost. This is the condition for allocative efficiency. Consumers get the goods they value most at prices that reflect the cost of production. Now let me look at monopoly. Monopoly is the opposite of perfect competition. A monopoly is a market structure with only one seller. The single firm is the entire industry. There are no close substitutes for the product. For example, a local water company is often a monopoly. You cannot get water from anyone else. Other examples include electricity distribution and postal services in some countries. What are the characteristics of monopoly? There is one seller and many buyers. The product has no close substitutes. There are high barriers to entry. Other firms cannot enter the market. The monopolist is a price maker. It can choose what price to charge. But even a monopolist cannot charge any price it wants. It faces a downward sloping demand curve. If it raises the price, it will sell less. If it lowers the price, it will sell more. The monopolist chooses the price and quantity that maximize its profit. Barriers to entry are very important. What causes barriers to entry? First, economies of scale. In some industries, the average cost of production falls as output increases. This is called a natural monopoly. It is cheaper for one firm to serve the whole market than for many firms to compete. For example, it would be wasteful to have 3 different water pipes running down every street. Second, control of essential resources. If one firm owns all the raw materials needed for production, other firms cannot enter. For example, if one company owns all the diamond mines, it has a monopoly on diamonds. Third, government regulation. Governments sometimes grant exclusive rights to a firm. For example, a patent gives an inventor a temporary monopoly on a new product. A license may be required to operate in some industries. Fourth, high startup costs. If it costs billions of naira to build a factory, few firms can afford to enter. How does a monopolist behave? The monopolist faces a downward sloping demand curve. To sell more output, it must lower its price. This means that the marginal revenue from selling an extra unit is less than the price. Marginal revenue is the additional revenue from selling one more unit. For a perfectly competitive firm, marginal revenue equals price. For a monopolist, marginal revenue is less than price. The monopolist maximizes profit by producing where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. The monopolist produces a lower quantity and charges a higher price than a perfectly competitive market would. The monopolist makes supernormal profits, even in the long run. Barriers to entry prevent new firms from entering and competing away those profits. Monopoly leads to inefficiency. The monopolist produces less than the socially optimal quantity. Price is above marginal cost. This creates a deadweight loss. Deadweight loss is the loss of economic efficiency that occurs when the market is not competitive. Consumers pay higher prices and get less output. Some consumers who would be willing to pay more than the cost of production cannot buy the good because the price is too high. This is why governments often regulate monopolies or break them up. Now let me look at monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is a market structure with many sellers, but the products are differentiated. Differentiation means that each firm's product is slightly different from the others. For example, restaurants, clothing stores, and hair salons are in monopolistic competition. Each restaurant sells food, but the food is different. One restaurant sells pizza, another sells burgers, another sells Chinese food. Because the products are different, each firm has some control over its price. If you raise your price, you will lose some customers, but not all. Some customers prefer your specific product and will pay a little more. What are the characteristics of monopolistic competition? There are many buyers and many sellers. There is product differentiation. Products are similar but not identical. There is free entry and exit in the long run. There is some advertising and branding to convince consumers that your product is better than others. Each firm faces a downward sloping demand curve, but the demand curve is more elastic than for a monopoly. Because there are close substitutes, if you raise your price too much, many customers will switch to other products. In the short run, a monopolistically competitive firm can make supernormal profits, normal profits, or losses. If firms make supernormal profits, new firms will enter. They see the profits and want some. As new firms enter, each existing firm's demand curve shifts to the left. It loses customers to the new firms. Profits fall. This continues until supernormal profits are eliminated. If firms make losses, some firms will exit. As firms exit, remaining firms' demand curves shift to the right. They gain customers from the exiting firms. Losses decrease. In the long run, monopolistically competitive firms earn only normal profit. They make zero supernormal profit. They could produce more at lower average cost, but they do not because they do not have enough customers. Now let me look at oligopoly. Oligopoly is a market structure with a few large sellers. The sellers are interdependent. Each firm must consider how other firms will react to its decisions. For example, the airline industry, telecommunications, and banking are often oligopolies. There are a few large firms that dominate the market. What are the characteristics of oligopoly? There are few sellers and many buyers. There are high barriers to entry. Products may be homogeneous or differentiated. For example, Oil is homogeneous. Cars are differentiated. There is interdependence among firms. The actions of one firm affect the others. If one airline lowers its prices, other airlines may lose customers. They may have to lower their prices too. This leads to strategic behavior. Firms in oligopoly often engage in non-price competition, such as advertising, product features, and customer service. They may also collude. Collusion is when firms cooperate to raise prices and restrict output. The strongest form of collusion is a cartel. The most famous cartel is OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. OPEC members agree on oil production levels to control oil prices. But collusion is often unstable. Each firm has an incentive to cheat. If one firm cheats and produces more, it can make higher profits. But if all firms cheat, the cartel breaks down. Another feature of oligopoly is price rigidity. Prices do not change often. Once a price is set, firms are reluctant to change it. If one firm lowers its price, others will follow. No one gains. If one firm raises its price, others will not follow. The firm that raised its price will lose customers. So prices tend to be stable. This is sometimes called the kinked demand curve. The demand curve is more elastic above the current price than below it. Oligopoly is not as efficient as perfect competition, but it may be more efficient than monopoly. The level of efficiency depends on how much competition exists among the few firms. Let me compare the four market structures. Perfect competition has many firms, identical products, no barriers to entry, and firms are price takers. Monopolistic competition has many firms, differentiated products, no barriers to entry, and firms have some price control. Oligopoly has few firms. Products may be homogeneous or differentiated, high barriers to entry, and firms are interdependent. Monopoly has one firm, no close substitutes, very high barriers to entry, and the firm is a price maker. A common exam question asks you to describe the characteristics of perfect competition. Here is a sample answer. Perfect competition has many buyers and many sellers. The products are identical. There is free entry and exit. There is perfect information. Firms are price takers. They cannot influence the market price. Perfect competition leads to productive and allocative efficiency. Another exam question asks you to explain why a monopolist can earn supernormal profits in the long run. Here is your answer. A monopolist can earn supernormal profits in the long run because of barriers to entry. Barriers to entry prevent new firms from entering the market. These barriers include economies of scale, control of essential resources, government regulation, and high startup costs. Because no new firms can enter, the monopolist faces no competition. It can continue to charge a high price and earn supernormal profits indefinitely. Another exam question asks you to distinguish between perfect competition and monopoly. Here is your answer. Perfect competition has many firms, while monopoly has one firm. Perfect competition has identical products, while monopoly has no close substitutes. Perfect competition has free entry and exit, while monopoly has high barriers to entry. Perfect competition firms are price takers, while a monopolist is a price maker. Perfect competition leads to efficiency, while monopoly leads to inefficiency and deadweight loss. Another exam question asks you to explain what is meant by product differentiation in monopolistic competition. Here is your answer. Product differentiation means that each firm's product is slightly different from its competitors' products. The differences may be real, like quality or features, or imaginary, created by advertising and branding. Product differentiation gives each firm some control over its price because some consumers prefer that specific product. Examples include restaurants, clothing stores, and hair salons. Let me summarize what you have learned. There are four main market structures. Perfect competition has many firms, identical products, and free entry. Firms earn normal profit in the long run and are efficient. Monopolistic competition has many firms, differentiated products, and free entry. Firms earn normal profit in the long run but have excess capacity. Oligopoly has few firms, high barriers to entry, and interdependence. Firms can earn supernormal profits in the long run. Monopoly has one firm, very high barriers to entry, and the firm is a price maker. The monopolist earns supernormal profits and causes inefficiency. That is all for Topic 6. Practice identifying which market structure fits different industries. Practice comparing and contrasting the 4 structures. Practice explaining the efficiency outcomes. See you in Topic 7.